Hey everyone, my name's John, and I made a mistake. I know, contrary to popular belief, I'm not perfect. But yeah, I made a huge mistake. So, if you're coming here straight from the video that hopefully, linked you over here, which is my build video on my Crosscut Sled, I made a pretty big mistake in that video in that doing the test cut piece, I turned it in the wrong direction. Hard to believe. I, went obviously through the whole making of the sled, making of the video, editing, etc., posting it to the world to see, and I turned it the wrong way. It's very hard to believe. So yeah, not too long ago, I think his name was Mike, I'll put his little name up here right now, pointed out to me that, yeah, I turned it the wrong way, and when he said that, I just couldn't believe it. I was speechless. But it is what it is. So, this video, we're going through the process of fixing that issue, because whenever you do turn it in the wrong direction, your measurements are going to be way off and your sled is going to be out of whack, which, big surprise, mine is. Kind of been wondering why, making some cutting boards, etc., things were a little off on the cuts. So anyway, so here in a little bit we're gonna head over to the sled, get the back of it disassembled, and then go from there on getting it fixed. So let's go. So actually, before we take this apart, we need to do another test cut. So we're going to do the 5-cut method again, this time correctly. So all we're going to do is mark the first cut, number 1, and start making our cuts from there. So now, just in case some of y'all don't know, the last cut, which is now number 5, which started off as number 1, you just want to move it over approximately an inch or so. It doesn't have to be anything exact, and then make that last cut. Then we're going to take that off cut, head back over to the workbench, do some math, and see just how far off I am. And now for the fun part. So we're going to take the 5th cut here, and we're going to measure the top and the bottom, and then start doing some math. And I'll be throwing up all the figures on the screen so it's nice and easy to read. So let's just start. Here we forget my shaky hands. Let's see, the top is going to be 0.609. So I'm going to jot that down for me here. And the bottom is 0.757. 0.757. Alright, so the first step is to take that top number, 0.608, and then you minus the bottom number from that, so in my case 0.757, and you come up with negative 0.149. So I'm going to make a little note of that. And then you take that number and divide it by the numbers of an angle in a square, which is obviously 4. So divided by 4. And that gives you, or gives me, let's see here, 0.0372. And then we're going to take that number and divide it by the length of the offcut. So I believe mine was around 15. Nope, it's 14.5. So again, divide it by 14.5. So that gives me, let's see here, negative 0.0025. Then we take that number and multiply it by the length of the pivot point to where you're going to be making the adjustments. I already know mine to be 32 inches. So times 32. And that leaves me negative 0.082 of an inch out of alignment. So now it's time to take my feeler gauge and head back over to the table saw sled. This time get it disassembled and make some adjustments. So let's head over to the sled. Okay, so another important thing to point out is which side do you want to be your pivot and which side are you going to be moving. In this case, the side that you want to be moving is the side that you had your test piece on. So in this case, this side is going to be moving this way, which I'll get into a little bit more of that here in a second, and this side is going to be your pivot side. So as far as which direction you're going to be moving it, inward or outward, that will determine on if you ended up with a negative number or a positive number. In my case, I ended up with a negative number. I had 0.082, negative 0.082 if that's not what I said. And then, so therefore, I'm going to move it this way. Again, if it was a positive number, you'd be moving it this way. So now we are going to flip it over, take all the screws out. I'm going to leave the last screw over here on the pivot side and probably just loosen it just a little bit. Get this clamped down because now I'm going to take a piece of wood, get my feeler gauges, and I've got 3 of them to equal my negative 0.082. Put them in there. Get that piece of wood with a point nice and tight up against the fence, clamp it down nice and tight. Then I can finally remove the screw underneath there, move, take your feeler gauges out, move the fence up until it touches here nice and tight, pre-drill another hole below and put a screw in there. Then we're going to do another test cut and hopefully we're going to be a lot closer this time. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that knocked out. Okay, so I'm only going to put 1 screw in on the opposite side of the pivot side. Go ahead and flip it over, do another test cut, do some more math, and we'll go from there. If we're close enough, then I'll put the rest of the screws back in here and we'll be good to go. Okay, fingers crossed. Go ahead and make a mark for number 1. I'm also going to shave off the smallest amount because I do want to keep this test square as large as possible. The larger the piece that you can do, the more accurate number that you'll eventually end up. That's about all I have left to make do, so here we go again. Okay, back at the bench here. So I've actually gone back and done two more test cuts. The first one, after what y'all saw of me making that last adjustment, I made the last test cut, did all the math. I'm going to bore you with all that math again, but I ended up with a negative 0.016 out of alignment over the distance of 14 inches. Thought to myself, well, that's that's a lot better than what I did in the first video. But I thought, maybe I can do a little bit better. So again, I went and did a second one, or I guess technically this would be third in line, and I ended up with a positive number this time of 0.0062. So that's about 6 thousandths of an inch out of alignment over the distance of 14 inches. Again, if you happen to use a bigger test piece, you know, you'll probably be a little bit more accurate. Again, this is what I had right now, and I think this time I actually am happy with the way it's cutting. I can just visually look at it and tell that it is not out of alignment. I haven't held up any squares just yet, but I'm sure it is just fine. So all I have left to do is throw in the rest of the screws underneath to secure the back fence. I think I'm actually going to throw in some more paste wax to get that thing sliding a little bit better. Other than that, I think I'm happy and done with this project. So, want to thank you so much for watching this one, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks again. Bye-bye.